All right, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your day. Heat Nation, how are y'all doing? Last night, last night was special, man. Last night was special. Last night was different. Last night was just amazing. I'm still lost for words. I don't even know what to say in regards to what we witnessed last night, man. This has been an incredible experience. The Miami Heat pulled off a major upset and eliminated the Milwaukee Bucks, the number one seeded Milwaukee Bucks, who had the best record in the NBA and were one of the main favorites to win the championship. The Miami Heat eliminated that squad in 5 games. What we saw last night was just something magical. What we saw was different. It's crazy how this series has been. To think we as a fan base went from watching this team get embarrassed in the play-in tournament by Atlanta, and many of us wanting to just take the lottery pick because this team ain't in. We went from that to watching this team pull off one of the greatest upsets in NBA playoff history. I believe this was like the seventh time that an 8 seed has beat a 1 seed in the playoffs. It's crazy what the Miami Heat were able to pull off here, and it's really hard to describe in a few words. I mean, Jimmy Butler was sensational throughout the entirety of this series. He averaged 38 points. 38 points on like 60% shooting and like 40% from the three. The man was sensational throughout the entirety of the series. The man averaged 38 against arguably the best defensive team in basketball. He's going up against Giannis, who of course was a former defensive player of the year and somebody who was given the title of the best player on the planet. He's going up against Brook Lopez, a guy that is routinely in the conversations for defensive player of the year. He's going up against Jrue Holiday, who's also in the conversations for defensive player of the year. There's a good chance all 3 of these players will be on a defensive team this year. So going up against those 3 guys and arguably the best defensive team in basketball, this man averaged 38 points. And over the last 2 games, what he's been able to do, 56 points to pull off a 15-point comeback at home in Game 4. 42 points to pull off a 16-point comeback. The play to get the game into overtime. What Jimmy has been able to do is sensational. The same can be said about the Miami Heat as a whole. Remember, this team was one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league, which was crazy for us to watch in the regular season because prior to that, they were the best. They were number 1 the previous year in 3-point shooting, which is why they ended up becoming the number 1 seed. But coming into this year, there's been so much struggles, and they ended up finishing 27th in that category. They were one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in hell, one of the worst shooting teams in general. They struggled to generate points on offense. They were one of the worst offenses in the league. Then you get into this game, you get into this series, and they become one of the best. They're like first in nearly every category. They're the best 3-point shooting team in the playoffs right now. The turnaround for the Miami Heat has been sensational. Yes, Jimmy has been great, and Jimmy has carried this team and has been the main catalyst as to why we're here. And it's crazy how he's been able to do this with Tyler Hero gone. We lost Tyler Hero and we continue to move forward. So yes, Jimmy's been great, but if you look at how the Miami Heat have played as a whole, it's been crazy. I mean, I have some things to say about Gabe Vincent because he's had some up and down moments, but the way he shot the ball in this series has been great. Caleb Martin struggled throughout the regular season. Both him and Vincent were pissing me off. But the way Martin shot the ball in this series has been great. The way the team has shot the ball in this series has been great. Duncan Robinson was finally able to be utilized, and he was hitting threes. This team was playing well. Kyle Lowry didn't have a lot of big moments, but Kyle Lowry made some plays and he hit some tough shots. I mean, given the fact that he's coming off the bench right now, Kyle Lowry was very productive. Kevin Love was very productive throughout this series. I wasn't sure what we were going to get from Kevin Love, but he's been very productive and he's hit some great threes. What you've been able to see from this Miami Heat team, the turnaround has been amazing, and I cannot believe that they were able to pull this off. Shout out to them. And shout out to Eric Spoelstra, because I mean, for much of the season, we were all looking at Spoelstra and saying, what is he doing? Because we were looking at his coaching and saying, why are they playing like this? We know you're a better coach than this. We know this team can play better than this. Why are they looking so bad? And why are you getting outcoached the way you were getting outcoached in the regular season? We were talking about it. But in this series, man, he coached circles around Budenholzer. Just oh my God. By the way, he has to get fired. Like, Milwaukee, fire Bud. Fire this guy. He has to go. This has to be it. That guy called 0 timeouts throughout the entirety of overtime. There was 0.5 seconds left. After Jimmy Butler made the shot to tie the game, there was 0.5 seconds left. You could have had an attempt. He didn't call a timeout. Throughout the entirety of overtime, Miami is taking over. He didn't call a timeout. They're going on these runs. He's not calling a timeout. What is he doing? This guy needs to go. He's not making adjustments. Spoelstra coached circles around this guy. Milwaukee, do yourself a favor and get rid of this guy. He is not it. I don't care that y'all won a championship with him being your coach. Y'all won a championship despite him being there. You didn't win it because of him. He just happened to be the coach of this team. Get rid of this guy. Get rid of him as soon as possible and bring in a coach that actually knows what he's doing. Because this guy, he's not it, man. He showed it in this series. He's not it. But yeah, Spoelstra, man. Eric Spoelstra just... Oh, my God. What he did in the fourth quarter, in terms of how he just switched towards having Bam be more of a facilitator, that worked out in the long run because Bam... He wasn't hitting all his shots and he wasn't playing his best. But if you watched him in the fourth quarter, he started delivering some dimes to Jimmy Butler. Like, he started being more of a facilitator and it just started working out. That's why, Bam finished with a 20-point triple-double, 20, 10, and 10. I mean, he just started delivering the ball and because he started moving out of the paint and started just moving the ball around and kind of facilitating the basketball, it kind of took Brook Lopez away from the rim, which was giving space for Jimmy to continue to cut. I just love the adjustment that was there. Bam was not helping out with the scoring for much of this. So let's have him be more of a facilitator. And those passes that he was getting to Jimmy were on point. And even Bam late in the game. For much of this series, Bam has struggled. But late in the game yesterday, Bam started making some points. Bam started getting involved. And he just started making some winning plays offensively, which is what we want to see from him. I want to see winning plays from Bam offensively. I know what he can do defensively. I want to see these winning plays from him offensively. But yeah, I love what I saw from Bam. That game yesterday was just crazy. And the fact that Milwaukee blew it, that's even a bigger shock than Miami finding a way to come back and win. It's just the way Milwaukee played down the stretch was some awful basketball. And you would expect better from a championship team. These guys won a title. And they looked rattled. I tweeted this early on in the first quarter when I was watching the game last night. I'm watching Miami and I'm watching Milwaukee, and I was both amazed and shocked. I was amazed at how poised the Miami Heat looked, and I was shocked by how frazzled and razzled and how unprepared Milwaukee looked. I mean, if it wasn't for Chris Middleton hitting some crazy shots early on in the first quarter, who knows how this game could have gone? They just did not look prepared to play. They looked scared. They were playing so scared in the first quarter. They got themselves together, but once the fourth quarter came and that pressure really started to hit, they collapsed. And Giannis had a great game. He had a great game in Game 4. He had a great game in Game 5. But again, the free throw demons came and attacked him. And that was one of the biggest catalysts for the comeback. Giannis just couldn't hit his free throws. I think he was, 10 for 22? I mean, the dude just couldn't hit his free throws. You're missing all those free throws. It's going to give Miami an opportunity to come back. And it showcased. Jrue Holiday was a no-show offensively, again, when they needed him. That's a problem. I don't know what you do with Jrue Holiday. He couldn't do anything against Jimmy. Jimmy was cooking him the entire series. He was cooking everybody, but he was cooking Jrue Holiday the entire series, and then Jrue wasn't doing anything offensively. Where was he? He was a no-show. That's not a good look for him. Just so much that went into this game, man. Just so much that went into this game. I mean, if you look at the free throw difference, Miami had 17. Milwaukee had 45. There should be no. If you're getting 45 free throws, there's no reason you should be losing. You're getting 45. Your opponent's getting 17 free throws attempts, and you find a way to lose that game because y'all can't hit free throws. That's just not a good look. Excuse me. And what made matters worse is just how you saw late in the game, Giannis didn't even want the ball. And the officiating, by the way, the officiating was terrible. The officiating was terrible, and some of the calls that they just made, it really looked like they were trying to just help Milwaukee as much as they can. And some people will probably talk about the last play. I know some Bucks fans might bring it up about the last play that led to the tie game, the play on Jimmy Butler, where they will sit back and say, well, he kind of pushed off on Allen. There's somewhat of a push off there. You can make an argument there. I'm not gonna deny that there was somewhat of a push off, but the refs have been so bad. I don't even think they saw that happen. And the funny thing about it is that play shouldn't have happened in the first place because prior to that, there should have been a foul that was called on Chris Middleton. He fouled Kyle Lowry. Milwaukee turned the ball over. Lowry's going for the ball. He gets fouled, but they don't call it a foul, and the ball ends up going out of bounds. While Kyle's trying to get it. They review it, and it ends up being a jump ball. That should have been a foul, and it should have been Miami Heat ball. There were so many bad calls in that game, and a lot of them went Milwaukee's way. But despite that, Milwaukee just couldn't capitalize. You had a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter, and you found a way to just choke it. And now you got to go into the offseason looking around saying, what do? We had title expectations. We had championship hopes. And we just lost to a number 8 seed in 5 games. Miami just looked in control. They intimidated these guys. It felt like the bubble again because you watched Miami intimidate these guys and they just didn't have an answer. And it's crazy to see that because this is the Milwaukee Bucks post-championship. At least in the bubble, at that point, they didn't have any championships. They didn't have that experience going through the trials and tribulations. They didn't have that. But this is post-championship. This is the same Milwaukee team that was down 0-2 in the finals against the Suns and found a way to win it in 6. So you would assume they'd be more poised in that situation. But Miami just intimidated them. And they just had no response and no answer. That's crazy. Anyway, Miami's going to move on to the second round. And they're going to take on the New York Knicks, which should be a very interesting matchup. I think this is going to 7. The mental toughness of the New York Knicks is going to it's helped them out so much this season. Jalen Brunson has just been a godsend for this squad, and he's been made for New York. So the mental toughness that they've had this season has taken them this far, and it's going to continue to help them throughout this series. But Miami's mentally tough too, and obviously you got 2 mentally tough teams, 2 well coached teams. You got some players here, man. It's going to be Jimmy versus Jalen Brunson. I think the matchup really comes down to 2 aspects. Jimmy versus Jalen, and Thibodeau versus Spoelstra. I think it comes down to that. It's going to be one hell of a matchup, and I see this going to 7 games, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not here to talk about that. Anyway, tough end for the Milwaukee Bucks. It is what it is, and Miami moves on. I'm happy. With that being said, that is all I've got, and I'm out of here, man. Peace.